here with Brian Wayman. Congratulations for winning the Arena Cup, and thank you for
Thank you.
being with
Appreciate
us.
it.
Can you tell us a bit what you were doing before you became a trader?
It actually goes back a long time. Right out of high school, back in the early 2000s, I began trading with my dad, and I was actually using NinjaTrader back then. It was great. We could only trade minis, and so it was very expensive to trade, and we didn't make a lot of money back then. And so it was tight, and we had to be very cautious with our trades.
Hmm.
And that definitely introduced me into trading. Like many traders, it was hard to get going. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard to get going.
Uh-huh. No, before you continue, do you remember the version of NinjaTrader you were using at the beginning?
I don't remember the exact version, but I do remember it was one of the earlier
Earlier
versions.
one, okay.
Yeah, definitely an early one. It was early 2000s, so it was probably between 2002, 2007, somewhere in that range.
And so you were saying you started with your father, traded only minis and being extremely cautious. It was hard at the beginning.
Yeah, and my dad was new too, so he definitely didn't know what we were doing. Um we purchased a program to help us learn how to trade, and that got us started. That definitely got us started. It wasn't the best program, but hey, it got me
Mhm.
through the door.
It got you through the door. Yes, yes, I see. Yes, I wanted to ask you what brought you to the futures trading, but it looks like it was just from the get-go. The other question was what type of markets and instrument you were trading the most? You mentioned mini, but what was what were the instrument specifically?
The main products that we've traded, the instrument was the ES E-mini.
Okay, okay.
So
So
we traded the S&P 500. Yep, that was back then. Nowadays is a little different. Now I trade mainly the Nasdaq Micro.
okay. So you're still on the indexes, so to speak, but you moved from ES, Nasdaq, and those are the two mainly?
I watch the S&P 500, but I mainly trade the Nasdaq. So those are my two main. I do kind of eyeball a lot of other instruments. Actually, a lot that we were trading in the NinjaTrader Arena Cup, like gold, oil. I definitely like the Russell. I just don't trade the Russell much. Um, so my main, like I say, my main instrument is the Nasdaq.
Nasdaq. So you're focused on Nasdaq and still mini only, or do you also trade the micro?
If I'm confident, I will dip into the mini. Um,
Ooh.
but to finish my beginning story, I actually stopped trading. I made a deal with my wife that I would either make this a profitable thing or I would put it on hold until I could return to trading. We wanted a family, and so that date came, and I was actually starting to turn profitable at the time, but I had promised her and I kept my promise. I decided that was the best thing to do was to take a break. And so I did. I took about a 10-year break and we
Oh,
raised our family, or not, we're still raising our family, but it was important that I got a good solid job, and I'm actually still with that same job right now, and I only trade part-time. And recently I have a coworker, and he knows my backstory, and he said, "Hey, would you think about trading again?" And I was reluctant. I didn't think it was the right time because I kind of had in the back of my mind, maybe I'll start trading in retirement. But he started explaining some things, and he told me, it's a different world now than it was 10 years ago. And it's true. Now we trade some minis and micros, and but he wanted me to get into crypto. He was interested in crypto. And so I actually just experimented. The charts are similar. They move in similar ways. And there's a time there where I played with some algos and traded DCA bots and I experimented there. But then I was introduced to prop firms, and that's where I switched to futures again, because futures is what I knew. Futures is what I loved. And I knew that I could use my old software, NinjaTrader. You guys are
Mhm.
amazing. I love your stuff. And I started trading futures again. And that was I would say that was October of 24 is when I came back to trading. And I will continue for the rest of my life as far as I can. I love trading. Uh, it is it is my happy place for sure.
That actually is a great segue for what we wanted to ask you. It's about now your preparation, considering you coming back 1 year ago to trading seriously, like you were used to. How did you prepare? Let's start with the Arena Cup. How did you prepare for the Arena Cup?
So in preparation for the Arena Cup, I knew it was coming up, and so I kind of watched the feeling of the market to see kind of where we were at. And I know that a few days before we had a massive dump in the market. And
Mhm.
so I could feel that it was a very fearful style market. And I know that it was it was probably going to be a down day, if not a choppy day.
Okay. And besides the market analysis, did you change anything about your routine during the competition?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I traded. As we know, it was a 1 day competition.
Hmm.
And so, in order to win a competition like this, you definitely have to go big. You have to play pretty tough with your competitors. And so, I'm normally a very conservative scalper type trader. And so, with this, I knew that I would not be able to win or do very well if I just scalped little scalps here or there. So I watched real closely for the bigger swings, for the areas, for the levels. And I used a rocket scooter levels, pivot, high volume pivot levels. And they were amazing. They
Hmm.
worked quite well for this cup.
Okay. So you were saying something slightly different than what you usually do because you were looking for a big swing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And there was anything specific in terms of getting more sleep before the Arena Cup or changing your diet or anything similar in terms of preparation for the Arena Cup?
I didn't really change a whole lot with that. I just went with my regular routine.
Cool.
I did wake up. I was excited to do this. It was, something out of the normal. It's a fun event. I knew that because it was this kind of event, I had only the chance to gain. I had nothing to lose.
Mhm.
It was something fun that I could do something out of the normal. I loved it.
And you mentioned something already, but were there any specific tools inside the NinjaTrader platform that contributed to your success?
I did have a few indicators, basic ones. There were some uh, simple moving average that I had just to kind of follow after I had entered some trades.
Mhm.
Um, I also used it was the ATR. The ATR was a big helper in this one, especially after the market had taken such a big dump. I had the ATR on the daily there just to kind of see the range extension to see if maybe we had reached a point where we could possibly return. And oh man, that mixed with some high volume pivots from Rocket Scooter was absolutely amazing. And
Okay.
that's actually what the RS in front of my name stands for, is to represent my community.
During the competition, do you recognize a moment where you realize that you really had the chance to win?
Oh, this is great. Um, so I woke up and I started trading, and the kids were all getting waking up, and I had hollered out to the family, "Hey, look, I'm racing. I'm like number 20. I'm number 10. I got up to into the nine." And I was hollering out. The kids all came running. Normally they just go play Nintendo or watch TV, and they came out. They started celebrating with me every little move up that I made. They were there cheering me on. It was like a party, which in a way, took all the fear out of trading. And I was there to have a good time with my family, and it showed. Like everything just clicked. Uh, I could think the levels through. I could watch the moves. I mean, I was spot on mentally. It was great. And I think it was because I was having so much fun with my family.
What was the most difficult round and why?
Okay, so the most difficult part was probably when the market was dumping. I knew it would turn around. I didn't know when, and I believe I flipped my position a couple times on the way down. And I saw that it just wasn't done yet, so I flipped it back and I kept riding that market. Um, the hardest part of that was I ran into a major high volume pivot level, and I really wanted to flip my position. I think I held it just a little bit past it. And I did. I flipped my position, and it was too early. I hit the button a little too early, and so I thought, okay, well, now I'm going backwards. I'm starting to fall. And I thought, okay, well, that's okay. My goal was to hit the top 40, and it was okay if I was not going to make it. So that was my struggle right there. Um, I mean, later on we found out it did turn and it did come back my direction, and I held the position, and well, we know the end result of that.
Okay. So would you say there was of all the trades, can you walk us through one meaningful trade or turning point? You basically covered this one. Would you be able to give us a little more details to tell us what was the instrument or some of the ranges that you covered? How far, how many, don't know if you remember how many ticks, but
Yeah, I think the first trade of the day, the trade right out of the gate, right at the open, I decided to take the long, and it was beautiful. It was green candle after green candle after green candle. And then once again, it hit a yellow line, which is one of my rocket scooter high volume pivot levels. And it bounced right off that yellow line. I flipped the position shortly after. I waited for a red candle confirmation, and flipped that position. And I mean, from there, it was just a cascade all the way down. And so yeah, that I would say that first trade was that one made me realize that okay, I can do this. I have a good chance. I got the first trade in, and let's do this.
how do you reset mentally after a tough day?
Can I describe my day for you? Would you
Oh,
like that?
absolutely, absolutely. Let's start with that. Yeah.
I wake up roughly half hour before the market open, and get up, go down, get all my machines going. I try and get my mental state together. I
Mhm.
trade. I'm in Mountain Time, so I trade from 7:30 to roughly 10 o'clock, which would be 12 o'clock Eastern Time. At that point, I have to get ready to go to my full-time job. And I go to my full-time job. I work uh, roughly 11 to 12 hours at my full-time job every day. I don't get back home until after midnight, and I go to bed and I start over again. But I love it. I mean, I've never been able to get out of bed easier now than I ever have because I love trading so much.
What I was trying to figure out is when you have tough days, is there a way you you reset mentally from that, from the tough days?
So I'll let you in on a secret. I see a therapist.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not ashamed to say it at all. I think it has been the best thing for my mental state in trading. And she's not even a professional trading therapist. She is just a normal therapist. She is amazing. But you go into trading and bad things in your life will pop up when your trading's not going your way. Great things will pop up when things are going great. It goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And therapy has definitely stabilized my extremes. And so now everybody's had that moment. They want to throw the keyboard out the window or they want to jump for joy and celebrate and do their happy dance. And this has really helped me stabilize. And now my wins, yeah, I celebrate them, but they're different. They're not extremes. And so it helps the mental state of trading when you can take therapy to stabilize the rest of your life. It all comes back to trading.
Let me get more in depth for something because you described that you use therapy and you described also a solid routine and the love that makes you get up in the morning and start trading. I wanted to ask you, do you have, on top of this, do you have also some habits that help you stay disciplined like you sound you are?
I like to jump into trades a little too soon, and I'm still a student of trading, and I will be for the rest of my life. And I'm learning that if I even just wait a few seconds after I know what I'm going to do, usually that will help me and put me where I want to be anyway. There are times that it does, go without me a little bit, and that's okay, because it it helps me realize that I want to take the trades that I want to take in the way I want to take them, and even just a couple seconds will usually give me the confirmation that I need,
Mm-hmm.
whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, but it helps so much just to wait just a little bit.
Considering all this in a competitive environment, do you have any tricks? Do you have a way to stay sharp when the environment becomes tougher or more competitive, so to speak?
Well, water.
Water.
You need water. Absolutely. Yeah. I've learned that my reward for water is coffee. So must have water. Your brain works so much better when you're hydrated. So
Mm.
yeah, having a good solid drink before anything else is very healthy.
How would you describe your overall trading style?
My trading style is definitely scalp.
That's
Um,
one.
when the trades present themselves, I will let a runner run. Every once in a while, when I do have runners run, I'll move my stop to slightly above break even just to not worry about the trade. Usually I'll take profit before that happens. But that's a psychological thing. I like to just secure the money.
What do you look for when you decide to enter a trade?
So when I'm entering the trade, my main entry are the rocket scooter high volume pivot levels. On the last trade that I entered before I had to go to work, the long drop that we had that day, I watched it and I was evaluating it, and it looked like the Elliott wave, and it wasn't perfect, uh, but it was exhausting into a rocket scooter high volume pivot. And so with the exhaustion of one and the signal to enter for another, it was it was almost a perfect setup in my mind, and it did overextend just a little bit, and that's where I started getting nervous that things may not go my way. But in the long run, it reclaimed, and I actually held that trade while I was at work until the end, and I I checked on it whenever I was able to, and I I figured it was good to just hold it through to the end.
My other question to you is, in a condition of high volatility, how do you approach the risk management during high volatility in the market?
The risk management, I'll use. I really like a moving average. I don't use it to trade with. However, it gives me something to follow to see if things are getting weaker or if there's possibly a turnaround. Like I say, I don't trade with them, but I do keep an eye on them. Even super trend is a good kind of moving average, sort of. I like I say, don't use that either to trade with. I just watch it to monitor the trade, and that's when I have a runner. Scalping, I set basically a risk interval, and in the Nasdaq, that's roughly 40, 50 points.
Mhm.
And I'll take that scalp, and usually it works pretty well coming off of those high volume pivots. But as far as risk management, I mean, I do move that stop loss to break even once in a while, and it's that's for mental purposes, and I feel like that will evolve with time. As far as other risk management, uh, over trading. If I feel like I'm over trading, that alone is risk management, and I need to back it off when I feel okay. Um, not not trading how I'd like, and so that's more capital preservation. And I consider that definitely part of my risk management plan.
Considering also the Arena Cup that you just won, what did you learn about yourself through this process, and how do you look forward?
So, this really takes me back to my trading days with my dad. It was great. I kind of he has passed with a few years ago, and I like to think that he was right next to me, cheering me on the whole time. Like I said, this was so much fun. It was, if nothing else, it was a bonding moment for me and my family, and in the accomplishments that I have worked so hard for, in the past for so many years, and then taking the break. Now I have a wonderful family, and now today I'm doing again. I'm doing what I love, and I have my family on my side cheering me on. It was so much fun, and I plan one day to be a full-time trader. Uh, I don't feel that I'll ever stop trading. I Even in retirement, I plan on continuing to trade because I love it so much. I may scale down, because my goal in trading, I can nail it in one word, is freedom. I I I long for that freedom to choose my hours, to choose when I am with my family. In fact, I am literally on vacation with my family right now,
Okay,
and
yeah, yes.
I'm already starting to hit gold. It's amazing, and this this cup it did so much for me, for my confidence, for my family to see my hard work pay off, to show that this is my dream, and I'm already starting to live it, even though it doesn't feel like it. I'm already starting to live it. So that one word, freedom, it's it's a lot easier to taste that word.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Brian. This is actually part of what I wanted to ask you, if the Arena Cup and winning the Arena Cup had some sort of contribution in how you looked ahead, but you answered that. So, um, what I want to ask you now is, What advice would you share with the traders who want to compete next year?
To want to compete next year, I would highly suggest find a community. I have been with so many communities and they're all great people. They're wonderful people. I found my true community and I love my community and trading is lonely. I'm not gonna lie. I could be sitting there with my whole family, in the kitchen or in the living room, and they're all there. However, trading is really lonely. You don't get the same satisfaction that you could get in a social environment or a social work environment. And so I would suggest a community. Don't jump from one to the next to the next. Do do your due diligence, shop around, see what you like, see what fits you, take the good stuff, leave the bad, but find your community. And I'm telling you, when you know, and I I'm here with this community for life. So my best suggestion is find like-minded people and trade with them. Even if you're just listening to them or chatting, it will change so much for you. So to tell you the story of even the reason why I entered, I didn't even know the NinjaTrader Cup was even happening. And Matt on the YouTube channel, Day Trading with Matt,
Mhm.
that is my community, the Rocket Scooter team. He encouraged everybody in the community. They're like, hey, there's really it's a free competition. There's nothing to lose, everything to gain. It's almost like a free prop account. And so
Uh-huh.
I was actually shy about it. To be honest, I was really shy about joining, and I was like, well, no, that's probably over my head. That seems really, that's for really good traders, and I didn't have the confidence. And then his fiance, she came out, she's like, if you guys don't join, you're idiots because this is a free competition and there's only gain involved here. So yes, she's the one that finally pushed me over the edge and said, okay, we're gonna do this. Even if I do horrible, it's for fun. And it was, she was right. Matt was right. It was so much fun.
Okay, awesome. What is one lesson about discipline that you think every trader should know?
Discipline is a hard one. Discipline is extremely important to a trader. If you can't master this in your personal life, uh, trading's going to be rough. You've got to master discipline. And I too, myself, I still struggle with discipline, but I'm aware of it and I'm constantly working on discipline. Over trading, I had mentioned that it's very important. If you realize you're over trading, you got to back off and you got to size down. And those two things have done so much for me, especially in the last 6 months. Those two things are very important.
My question to you is, before the market opens, what is the most important thing that you do?
I don't just look at the screens. I don't sit down immediately. I
Mhm.
do get them started up. I get them going. That taking a good drink of water is extremely important to me. But not only that, I do take a moment. I sit and I take a breath. If I don't breathe, I don't do well. And so I take a quick moment. It's a very quick moment. Sometimes I actually get some good time in, but I have to breathe. I have to center down. And the better I do at that, for some reason, the better I trade.
You're
And
better.
that is
Mhm.
something I have noticed.
You touched on this already, some points, but let me ask you again. Um, what mistakes do you see many traders make, and how would you suggest to avoid it?
One of the biggest mistakes that I personally had, and I have overcome this, is I had so much knowledge from other communities, just from YouTube videos, from all kinds of stuff, and things got over cluttered. The screen, it did not look pretty. I mean, if you like lots of stuff on your screen, great, good for you. But when I started subtracting stuff off my screen, especially when I met this community I'm with now, it changed so much for me because I don't have so many things telling me go this way, go that way. Simplicity is it's amazing what simplicity can do for your trading.
It's so simple. The less is more, looking for the simplicity and
Yeah, definitely
keeping.
less is more.
Again, on the Arena Cup, what was the biggest surprise during the Arena Cup?
Well, for one, it was a surprise that I was even doing the thing.
Oh, that, yeah. Yes, you covered that. Yeah.
And I am so glad and thankful to everyone who encouraged me that I did. However, the this specific day, we had a catalyst this day, which means that the markets don't act rationally. They don't act as expected for somebody who is well experienced and knows what they're looking at. And so I think the surprise was such a big dump in the market and that I was actually able to hold as much as I did.
Hmm.
And that I think was my biggest surprise. I I had my kids patting me on the back and cheering me on, and that's all I needed. And I surprised
During,
myself.
during
Say
or
again.
after the big dump?
So the big dump happened, not the whole thing, but it had started, and it went right on through until I had to get ready for work. And so yeah, I mean, I guess my kids did. They cheered me on through the whole dump, and that was the exciting part too, because they I was going up in the ranks at that point, until I started going down. I turned my computers off so my kids wouldn't accidentally trade for me while I was at work. But yeah, I flipped my trade before I went for work, and I told my kids, "Well, I'll let you know the result as soon as I know." And I ended up calling them. They were all sitting in the car, and I was over the speakers, and I had you know, they had asked, How'd you do? How'd you do, Dad?" I was like, oh, I think I did all right. I think I did pretty good. You know, playing it down pretty hard. And they're like, well, but what place did you get, Dad? And I was, how about first place, guys? And the whole car just burst in excitement, and it was so fun because they had missed, you know, the almost half of the day, so they didn't get to follow where I was at. But the end result, it really made them cheer for me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I have to ask you now, in terms of principles, what rule or principle guides your trading decisions?
This will take us back to discipline.
Hmm.
Discipline is by far the most important principle. You don't have discipline, it will it will wreak havoc on your trading. Um, your mental state is another. You have to be mentally stable. You have to be ready. If you don't feel, me personally, if I don't feel stable, I will choose to take the day off of trading. Or I'll just, you know, I'll still watch it, but I won't actively participate in trading.
Hmm.
And uh, emotional is also as well. Right after this cup, I mean, it's an emotional event, winning first place. And I did start trading a little bit. Um, and my confidence level was good. And I did take a couple good trades. And that was my warning. I knew right there, okay, my emotional and mental state are not here. It is important. So I took a few days off. I still hung
Okay.
out with the community. I still watched the charts, but I didn't actively trade because I knew that I it was the opposite end of the spectrum. I wasn't upset or you know, I was so happy, so excited that I was a little bit overly confident. And so I realized, okay, that's I see what's happening. I let's take a little bit of a break and I knew this vacation was coming up, and so I was like, this will be good time off, and I can enjoy. I can talk to NinjaTrader and talk to my community, and yeah, I'll take a few really solid A plus setups, and I've taken a few, but I've been very relaxed, very small, very
Mhm.
disciplined. I have been careful with anything that I've actually decided to do, but the best choice was to sit out and restabilize.
Okay, we stable. Okay. Okay. So discipline, emotional control, and be aware of when to slow down. I have to ask you now, what is one mindset shift that improved your performance, considering this last year of you back to trading? Did you have a mindset shift that helped your performance?
I did have a mindset shift. It did help. And what helped that mind shift was by far sizing down. You see these big numbers and you trade bigger, and it's fun, but it goes both ways. And since I consider myself still a student, I can size down, and little wins definitely add up to big wins. And I have sized up with confidence slowly. It has definitely changed things for me.
It's interesting to hear. So sizing down. What advice would you give to someone who wants to become a more consistent trader?
Stick to what you're doing. Have whatever you decide to trade, stick to it. Um, don't keep changing your indicators. Stick to one thing, master it, or realize it's not working and move on. But in order to become consistent, you have to have a reference point. You have to know whether you're going in the right direction or you're going in the wrong direction. And that's that's really what helped me these last couple of years.
Yeah, that's eye-opening, Brian. It's very helpful. And what is the best tip for staying level-headed in fast markets?
For staying level-headed in a fast market, a lot of the time is to sit out.
To see that,
If
okay.
it's if it's too volatile, if we're in an irrational type market, if things just don't feel right, volatility is not the best time to be trading. You'll get chopped up real quick in a volatile market. Um, I like to have things consistent, normal. If there's a lot of news, it could be both good or bad. However, sometimes the best choice is to just sit out. If a great trade setup happens in volatility, if it's an A plus, I mean those trades could also be explosive. And so if I'm confident in the volatility, I'll still trade, take an A plus trade. And boy, some of those go real fast.
Okay, okay. Thank you then, Brian. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for finding time for this.
Yeah, I appreciate you as well.